I'm Philip DeVaul. I serve as rector of Church of the Redeemer here in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Queen City of the Midwest. And I am with my friend, Maxandra Grace Firesheets. Max is joining us, and we're going to talk a little bit about their journey as a Christian and as a person, as a member of this church, which I'm very excited about. So,
one of the first things that I realized when I was, starting to pick myself back up and look at what had happened and all that, is like, what she said about not being here, maybe that means something. Like, how am I participating in the world and what am I hiding from? And that's when I really had the realization, something that I wasn't straight. Like, okay,
I remember you telling me that it was like, she mentioned it to you.
Yes.
And I thought you were going to be like, can you believe that? Do you remember the conversation we had?
I do now. I had not remembered that, but yeah. We were, had the kids in the car and we were going somewhere together to do something. I don't even remember what it was now. But she said that, I say this from, out of love and really from a place like, I want to be there for you. I really think that you ought to consider the possibility that you might not be straight. I think that's what she said. It was like, okay, whatever.
Right.
It was like, okay.
Right.
I've never done any due diligence about this.
Right. I've never done due diligence. First of all, ma'am, how dare you?
Right.
How dare you blow up my world like that?
Yeah. Like, never in my life have I been so offended by something so true.
Oh, man. Do you remember when you told me? I mean, for me, it was a phenomenal conversation. Right.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, just solidified our friendship, solidified the fact that your church was going to love you and be there for you in whatever may come, but also just felt, just telling you now, like, I just felt like trusted, and in what I do for work, like, that's a big deal to me. And and most of the people who watch this or listen to this know that, my dad came out as gay when I was a child, and it created a very big disruption for me in my faith life. And the idea that I would now be a Christian clergy person was already weird enough, but that someone would then come out to me and it would be a positive and powerful and loving thing. It's just like my wildest dreams coming true. Like, what a great gift in this world that I get to do this, and this is real. So that was, the food was fine, but the company was fantastic that day, and it was a really special day for me. I've always wanted to tell you that. It meant a lot to me.
Good. Yeah. It meant a lot to me too, because it really was such a healing moment for me, for the same kind of, like, from the opposite side, I guess. Like, here is a Christian clergy person who I can tell loves me and is not judging me, and I can be real.
Yeah.
And that's, like, not only is that fine and not going to get me thrown out, but, like, that's how we're supposed to do, and that's what he wants to have for me. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So turns out I'm not gay. I'm not a gay man.
Well, yes. Right. So it kept going.
Yeah, but that conversation in particular at Tellers, you're absolutely right. Like, that.
Do you know how you figured out that you weren't a gay man? You did due diligence.
Yeah, I was coming back to that. Yeah,
you did your due diligence.
Like, tried going to some of the, like, tea dances and hanging out with the gay people.
I remember you telling me about that. You were like, turns out, no,
ain't it. It was instantaneous. It's like, okay, I'm not a gay man.
Okay, not this.
What does that mean? Like, where does that leave me? I don't know what that is.
There's got to be a spot for me somewhere.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so now the process of elimination. I know, like, I'm not straight, but I'm not a gay man. Like, what does all that mean? But that conversation at Tellers was the beginning of me, like, you talked about me being behind this persona, and it's like that was me coming out.
Yeah.
And, like, what is this? What is, like, where am I? What does this mean for me? And yeah. So
Can I ask a quick question?
oh yeah, of course.
So you knew that the rector of your church supported you.
Mhm.
How about the church overall? I mean, I'm one person. Did you have any kind of sense of the culture of the church, of the people overall, of your friends at the church, in terms of their support of you and Kelly throughout the divorce and throughout this whole process? I know we've had a good one, but I know it's not just me. I guess I'm curious about what it was like for you at Redeemer.
Yeah. I knew, from the Vestry experience and talking about going through divorce and all like different things, that I knew that it was probably going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I knew there were already other LGBT people, in the congregation,
Yeah.
in visible places at the church, on staff with the church and everything. Like,
Yeah.
so it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, that'll be fine.
Okay. So at this point, you first identify as gay,
Mhm.
and then you start to kind of check around and do your due diligence in terms of gay culture. And you said, okay, this ain't me either.
Right.
Now what? So now what?
Yeah. So I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
So I started like just sort of immersing myself in queer culture on the internet for
Yeah.
various things to see what was going on with all that, and like checking out different spaces and stuff. With a group of friends, we were going to some burlesque shows also at the name of the place I can't think of now.
Sure.
But yeah, one of the Cincinnati burlesque troupes. And I had been wearing makeup there like different stuff. Then I realized,
sort of like, because you could.
Yeah, just like, well, I'm going to do this now. Like,
yeah,
I'm not straight. Let me try this,
Right.
And so like I realized more and more of this stuff about myself, and that it turns out there was this Snapchat filter that I learned about. Yeah, this,
No, I remember this. This is like mythology for me now. This story is so deep, but I love it. Go do it. This is so great.
Yeah, there was this Snapchat filter that did the gender swap thing, and it was like all the rage on the internet. Like, it wasn't actually all the rage on the internet. Turns out
the interwebs.
It turns out it was all the rage in the like these just random transgender spaces that I'd been hanging out in for a while for absolutely no reason at all. Like looking back on it now.
What am I doing? How did I get here? Huh?
Right. How strange. Like, this is all of my Twitter feed and all of my subreddits and stuff.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. So I downloaded Snapchat, and it was like standing at, actually, I'm right here in the kitchen over there. May 5th of 2019.
Yeah.
And so like, all right, well, let's see what this is all about. And I took the picture and was like, oh, and like, boom.
I've seen the picture too.
Yeah. Like I didn't pull it up. I could.
No, it's okay.
Find it and like hold it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, oh. And then, like 25 years of everything just started pouring out of me. It's like, and that was it. That's how I knew. Yeah. And then looking back, it's always been there.
That's the part. And I mean, that's like, that's where I want, I have so like that. I want to spend hours and hours and days someday. I don't even know that it's probably not fit for just this kind of conversation, but like, like the part where you then, all these things that were clear as you were growing up, or that weren't clear, but when you look back through that lens.
Yeah.
There's this thing that happens in the gospel stories where I think it's in John explicitly where it says it, that basically Jesus said and did all these things that pointed to the fact that he was going to die and be resurrected.
Yes.
And that the disciples didn't understand it until after the resurrection. And once the resurrection happened and they witnessed this resurrected Jesus, they went back, like you just said, the last so-and-so number of years, just all of it makes sense. And in fact, their whole yearning as Israelites and their whole messianic desire, all of the things that were inside of them, like were transformed, transfigured, into what was, it's been Jesus.
Mhm.
And that's like, when you describe it for me, it reminds me of that, like, oh, this has been here. Right.
Mhm.
I think for those of us, I'm a measly old cishet, like just, I am a cisgender
Default mode.
heterosexual white guy, Christian, married with, the 3 kids and the fence and the dog. But it's always a journey for me of understanding and because the world that I live in is focused on people like me and centered on people like me and caters to people like me. So I don't have to think outside that box unless I want to. I can retreat. But for folks like us, we can sometimes think that, like, well, one day they just made a decision. And maybe
Right.
you did make decisions in terms of, I'm going to decide to allow myself to accept myself.
Yes.
But when you describe the moment of this revelation about your gender, it doesn't sound like a decision. It sounds like something that happened to you, and your decision was to accept what was true rather than, like, to make a decision about who you are.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense.
That difference is huge, like, for my brain, for all of us.
Yeah.
Like, why do people choose this thing? And it's like, what? No, like, it chose you, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then when do we, like, how the choice is whether or not to, like, acknowledge it and accept it.
Yes. And I've
Okay.
had that conversation with my dad a few times, because he's definitely of the ilk of, like, I don't understand why you're choosing this. Like, it's so trendy, and that I can't ever agree with these lifestyle choices you're making. It's like, no, all I chose is to believe myself, to believe what God is telling me. Like, I've chosen to stop running. And, like, it's so amazing now. Like,
Okay. Like that. For everyone who ever watches or listens to this, I have chosen to believe myself, to believe what God is telling me. I've chosen to stop running. My friend. I mean, I know, me too. Hold on. Whew. I don't know how we held it together that Sunday. I really don't know how we held it together.
I don't either. I was so close.
I got shaky a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
but I kept being like, well, if Max can do it, I can do it. If Max can do it, I can do it. And the thing this is me. This is how I work. I was like, act like you've been here before. Just act like you've been here before. And I told all the other clergy and the staff, just act like we've been here before. Like, we're all going to be like, oh yeah, just another name blessing.
Just a thing
we're doing. And it was, and part of that was just like, so that we could just, I wanted you to have it, to be able to have the time, and for it not to be like the coronation day, or like, can you believe what we've done? It's just like, can this just be a thing? Right. Where you get to have this because it's yours. And we pulled it off, but it was
beautiful.
Close. It was beautiful.
Well,
the liturgy, our friend Annie Stevens Gleason,
yes,
did not create that whole cloth. She found a couple different things within the Episcopal tradition.
Right,
she
but
put
she
it together.
Wove it together.
And
yeah,
wove is the right word, and worked with you and worked with me, and there was such sensitivity and care and such liturgical, theological depth and consistency. It felt like the church on some level. It felt like, oh yeah, this is a liturgy that we have, and of course, this is the time for that.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, this has always been a God thing.
Can you say more about that for me? I believe you. I know you're right, but I want you to say more about it.
But it ties into the whole thing. Like, I'm choosing to believe what God says about me.
Yeah.
Like, I am stepping into the way that I was created to be.
Yeah.
And outside of a religious argument, you could say all sorts of things about brain chemistry or whatever. This is how God made me. And it took me until I was 38 years old to understand what that was and to experience the depth of what that meant.
Yeah.
And so I've been like, it's so impossible to sort of like tease out the different threads because they're all so intertwined with like my relationships and, the way that I relate to my dad and my journey with religion and the friends that I've had. It's sort of funny, the like cyclic nature of it. Every 5 years or so, I would delete all of my social media and sort of, like burn all my bridges, torch my friends, and reinvent myself with a new persona.
Wow.
So I was the guy who had a handlebar mustache for a while. And
I was there for a little bit of that time.
Yeah, I went back. I went back to
one of
it.
the times. Yeah. Yes.
Or I was the guy who homebrewed beer and was big into that. Or I was the cool youth pastor who wore skinny jeans. That was part of it in there. For one of them, or like the family man who had the good job and everything going for him. That sort of thing was just like brushing close to it, like. Getting close to the truth. And they're like, oh, no. Okay, what I actually need is this. This is going to fix me if I follow this script.
Yeah.
That's going to make everything happy and no questions. And but finally, like unlocking that I was right.
How is this different? I believe that it's different. How is this different from those other times? Right. So you mentioned your dad. He's like, so you used to homebrew and then you had a handlebar mustache and now you're trans. Like, no offense to him. I know he loves you dearly and he's trying to figure it out. How, I know it's different, but is there a way that you've been able to articulate or understand that difference from these other times when you sort of went down a persona road? Because it seems different to me too. I feel it is different when I'm with you, but I'm curious about how you experience that difference.
That's a great question. I don't think anyone has ever asked me to articulate it so formally.
So if we can't, it's okay.
But it strikes me as like, all those other times I was, searching for something that would fix me. Like clearly I'm unhappy and the people around me are unhappy. I feel so disconnected and, I feel like everything is just like fake and meaningless. And so clearly what I'm doing is not it. So I need to follow this script instead. I'll put on this kind of shell, this avatar and try that. And that's going to answer the questions. That's going to make me have meaningful relationships with people. And it never did. But it does now. I'm not following a script. I kind of wish there was one, but I'm figuring this out as I go along.
Oh, it sure is fun being a trailblazer.
Right. Like act like you've been here before.
Yeah, you're like, there is no here before. First of all, you are going to have quite the vulnerability hangover later after sharing all this. My introverted friend who has told the story of your heart, I hope that you are able to find some space for yourself and just disappear for a little bit, and just have some time to yourself. Just that's my hope for you. That, and I'm not telling you anything that's news to you, that this church, that Redeemer, which is a church that loves you and seeks genuinely to be open in all of the ways that we have espoused and said in our vision statement and in all of these pieces. We are still very much at the beginning of understanding all of the different ways that transgender people exist in the world and what that means. It's still very much, it's like so many of us literally don't even have language to comprehend. And you are in this space where you are, you've been very gracious and courageous in your willingness to sort of say like, well, like this church says they're going to be accepting. I'm going to trust that.
Mm-hmm.
So I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for putting your trust in this church and in me. I hope that it seems that so far we haven't abused that trust. I hope that we continue to grow alongside you and learn. But I also hope that there's a time in the very near future where you don't feel like you have to be the one, the bold one at Redeemer. My hope is that we continue to grow and become a home for people who are coming into their faith life from all different experiences of gender and sexuality, and who want genuinely to find a Christ-centered community that is serious about inclusion and affirmation. So you're the trailblazer for now. I hope that is not. I hope that's a short-term reality, and in the long term, we see something else happen here, right?
Mm-hmm. I believe it will be.
Yeah, me too.